Hello and welcome back to Sports Talk with Dad. Another amazing show lined up for you today. And of course, we must all rise as the Honorable Aaron Judge has tied the AL home run record.
All time.
We'll get into it, as well as many other topics, including some football picks that we have coming up for this week. But before we get started, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who says the camera adds 10 pounds, but it's the sugar that adds the other 30, my dad, Tim.
My blood is all sugar. How I'm not a diabetic is beyond. But I'm not.
I don't know either. The problem is you passed it on to me. I love sugar, and I'm on strict diet right now. So
very true.
You have to hide candy from me at all times.
Not bringing it into the house. But before we get going, I want to say Happy Sons Day, because today, as we're recording, is National Sons Day. So happy National Sons Day, if I can talk, to you, and obviously to your brother Ryan, who's hopefully watching. But
thank you.
Thank you for all the joy.
Ditto.
There you go.
I have to do something for my kids now.
Yeah, you do.
Normally my kids cost me money, though. That's the hard part.
Well, I don't buy a lot of cards, that, but
I never buy cards.
I don't.
Never. That is one of the biggest arguments my wife and I have ever had. She
comes from a very big card family.
She does, but it's a huge argument because there were cards there with presents, but like you and Mom never gave us cards.
No.
Like unless it was just a card. Like if it's just a card and you have money or something inside, whatever, that's a different story. But why get a card with a present?
I've never understood it because it was never a part of my growing up either. This is to whoever.
Right. Just write it on the package.
And that's
it. But it was like my oldest son's Grayson's. It was like his first Christmas. And I was like, why are you getting him a card? The people that are going to read this to him already know what the card says. He's not going to know what it is. This is pointless. And then as the kids got older and started to be able to read and understand the cards, I still was like, this is pointless. Just give them the present. I don't get cards.
Look, I know that family well. I gave up the argument. There has to be a mushy card?
No.
A funny card?
No. There has to be no cards. No cards. Cards are pointless. If you are buying a present from somebody, because what are you writing in the cards? Number one, that's not personal. You didn't write what is on there.
No.
The part that you write is love, blah, blah. And if you're a grandma, you write XOXOXO.
True.
That's all you write in the card. So you just spend $8 on a card that isn't what you wanted to say. It's what somebody else said. And you've added to it love, blah, blah, blah.
I can't disagree with you. I think the only time I've ever taken the time to actually write something in a gift and not a card, other than, all my love, Dad, or something like that, was when I got you all the copies of the Christmas Carol.
Yes.
And then I put an inscription on it.
You've done it for the kids with their books as well,
Sure.
But you wrote it in the book.
Yes.
As an inscription from Grandpa. Now, nobody can read your handwriting, but eventually we'll get hieroglyphic experts to come in and decipher your messages.
That will be part of the joy later on in life, trying to figure out what the hell it says.
No, but I love those because I do read Christmas Carol at least once a year. It is one of my all-time favorite books. And having that inscription, that's different. That's something special because that is personalized at that point. And I love that about that book.
When we get closer to the holiday, we're going to have the great which version of A Christmas Carol movie is the best.
The Jim Carrey version.
It's right up there.
The Jim Carrey version is the greatest, but we will have that argument later on. But you let us know in the comments below what you think about cards. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
So,
what's up?
I wanted to check on your levels. We got our Let's Get Checked levels.
We did.
You had to go and see your doctor.
I did.
What did they have to say?
It's a good thing I got checked and got my levels checked out. And hey, it is a good thing for you to do too. Thank you so much to our sponsor, Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked is a at-home, easy, and discreet way to get your levels checked. You can get hormone tests. You can get really any type of test you want, COVID testing. They do it all. They send you a package. And again, it is an at-home, easy, and discreet way to make sure you are as healthy as possible. Simply follow the link you see here on the screen and use the code SportsTalk25, and you will get 25% off of your first order. This isn't 5, this isn't 10, this is legitimately a quarter off the price of your test by following the link below and using the code SportsTalkWithDad.
And your family's
Sport Talks 25. I'm sorry.
Wow. It is Sports Talk 25 is a code. The link's right here. Your family wants you to stay healthy. Take the time. Contact Let's Get Checked. We've made it very easy for you. Get your 25% off. Get your levels checked. You may find out you're perfect like me, or you may find out I've got to go and see a doctor like him.
And I did. I did not know my levels were that far off, but I tell you what, after going to my doctor, getting some things corrected, I feel 1,000 times better than I have probably in the last 6 months, which just makes me even happier that I was able to go to Let's Get Checked and get my levels.
When I knew you were feeling better? When I came down to get into the studio and found you had torn up half the carpeting.
I did.
That was in the basement part of it.
I have my energy back, which I'm very excited about. But again, follow the link below and use code SportsTalk25 to ensure you get 25% off.
They will. Back to what are you doing?
I'm ripping up the carpet.
Why?
All right, here's the deal. For anybody that's doing home improvement in a basement, one, you need some sort of vapor protection to put underneath any surface that you put down, because concrete is very porous. It's going to suck up the groundwater, and eventually it is going to get inside. And if you have something, which is what the people who had this house before us did, something that is extremely absorbent, just laying on the concrete, guess what's going to happen?
It's going to smell.
It's going to suck up that water vapor and store it, because basically what they put down is a sponge, and it's going to make everything smell. So the dehumidifier leaks, no big deal. But all of a sudden, my basement started to smell
like the cat that we used to be here, obviously.
I was going to say like the 100-year-old lady that has all the cats, what you expect her house to smell like. I was very upset, immediately ripped out that carpet, and now I'm already heading that direction, and so we're going to finish the project this weekend.
Well, that's awesome. And honestly, it reminds me what a lot of friends you and I both have down in Florida are going through right now. Hurricane Ian went through. It's a disaster down there. Our thoughts and prayers are to all of our friends.
Definitely, especially a friend of the show, Brian, who is down there in Florida right now without power, which is why he's not joining us here for the football picks. So Makula Matata will be back next week, because hopefully he has power back on at that point.
2.5 or 2.6 million people without power.
Yeah, it was a big storm.
It was a Cat 5.
It ended up being one,
and it was moving very, very slowly. But once again,
Tampa saved.
Tampa didn't get hit.
Protected.
The Indian blessing obviously works, because that's 2 hurricanes, Irma and
Native
now
American
Ian.
blessing.
Okay.
The Indians live in India.
They do. But that's 2 hurricanes in a row. We were down there for Irma.
Right.
The thing was heading right for us.
Took a turn.
Took a right-hand turn in Sarasota.
Yep.
Ian, predicting to hit Tampa. Here it comes. Watch out. And what does it do?
Turns.
Goes in and takes out Fort Myers and Naples again, and then comes up. And Tampa gets a little rain, and it's protected.
It is.
It's just bizarre. 101 years since the last direct hit on Tampa.
Well, folks in Tampa, you heard it here first. He has just jinxed the whole entire city. It'll be wiped out with the next one. But those hurricanes are getting pretty crazy. That Gulf is very warm, and they are
It's warm.
picking up speed in a hurry. So our thoughts and prayers to all of our friends, and especially our friend of the show, Brian McCullough, who is having to deal with the aftermath of the hurricane. But we'll have him back on next week. He is safe, so please don't worry. We'll ask him tons of questions about the hurricane, I'm sure, when we have him on next week, where he will give you the picks you can actually rely on, unlike our picks. But before we get into football picks and any other topic, I'm surprised you didn't notice the change I made here
I noticed it.
to the studio.
I noticed it. I refuse to acknowledge it.
Because our teams faced off against each other.
No,
last
no,
weekend.
they didn't. One team came to play. The other team is in desperate need of a head coaching change at this point.
That was ugly.
It was.
I turned off the game. I was like, listen, this isn't even entertaining anymore.
We're talking obviously about the Ohio State Buckeyes against the Wisconsin Badgers.
I have my Buckeyes, still here and good. I've noticed you've abandoned the Badger on your side of the table.
No, I put that there instead of, so we can talk about Aaron Judge. But I gotta be honest with you, and I've been, you know me, I'm one of the world's biggest Badger fans, alum, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you're a homer. I get it.
I am, and proudly so, by the way. But Paul Chryst, who's been a coach now for several years, is just not taking the team to the next level, and it's time for a change. Their offense is anemic, and that's being kind.
What surprises me is how bad their offensive line looked against Ohio State. And being an Ohio State fan for really my entire life, I've never seen a game against Wisconsin where the defensive line looked like they were playing Rutgers.
Allen had nowhere to run all day.
But it makes no sense. Like,
No.
they weren't blitzing all the time. It's not like they had 3 extra guys coming in. They were getting there with a 4-man front.
Wisconsin,
That's not Wisconsin.
No, Wisconsin, the one thing you can always count on is 2 things. 1, they'll have outstanding running backs, and 2, they have outstanding running backs because they have large cattle at their offensive line that can actually move and
Right.
clear out for
Wisconsin
them.
has first-round draft pick offensive line, but they don't.
Not right now.
That's recruiting.
I got to be honest. The program just looks stagnant. They've got the best defensive coach in the country, in my mind, in Jim Leonard. His defense could only hold up so long. He's got a very young defense this year. They will round into shape, as all Jim Leonard defenses do. But I think it's
In
actually
the 3 years he's been a defensive coordinator, you mean?
Yeah, and they've been outstanding. I mean, when the Packers tried to steal him away and he didn't go,
Yeah,
which
he'll be the
surprised
next
me,
head coach.
it's time to push him up to the top and just see what he can do.
If not, Nebraska's going to take him.
You said that. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but I think he's going to be a head coach next year someplace.
Yes, he will. And Ohio State is going to still be there to make sure that Wisconsin never does a thing. Go Buckeyes.
I hate you. I dropped you on your head when you were a kid.
I like cheering for winning teams.
Yeah, you're a Fairweather fan.
That's not true. I'm also a Cubs fan.
No, that's true. I cheer for teams. I cheer for the only team in the country whose band was suspended.
It's true.
Gotta love
But
Wisconsin.
it's not even the best damn band in the land.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
It's the greatest
It's Ohio
party.
State.
It's the greatest party school
Called the
in the
best
country.
damn band.
Well, you
in
can.
the land.
It's like calling Dallas America's team. They're not. They just call themselves that.
Still works.
No, and it's
Still
not the
works.
best damn band. University of Wisconsin Badgers have the best band, and they always have.
Dotting the I is one of the greatest traditions in all of college sports, and it's the only one where the best tradition of the school is with the band.
Let's talk Aaron Judge. I'm through with college football.
All rise for the Honorable Aaron Judge, who just tied the American League record for the
all-time
most
record.
home runs in American League and
All-time.
Yankee history. It is not
It is
the all-time
record.
It is the American League record.
I love Roger Maris Jr., who came out and said as soon as Aaron Judge passes Roger Maris, he will be the all-time home run leader.
You love
Single
somebody that
season.
shares your opinion? Yeah, that
Of course
makes
I do.
sense.
Of course I do. Look, I've been consistent for years. The cheater does not Yeah, he hit 73, and if he wouldn't have been juicing, he would have had 25.
Maybe.
According to the study you've read, you actually showed it to me. If the cheater never juices, he probably hits 537 home runs in his career. He never gets close to 61 in a season. The all-time
We'll never know.
Yes, we do. You saw him in Pittsburgh,
He still has the best eye of any player that's ever played the game when it comes to the plate.
but he didn't have that kind of power until his freaking melon grew.
He used a lot of steroids.
And he tarnished the two most precious records in all of sports: the single season home run record belonging currently to Aaron Judge and Roger Maris, and the all-time home run. And what really bugs me about the all-time home run record is he took it away from somebody who put up with more sheer racism and more hatred than any other human being on the face of the planet. And Henry Aaron broke the record with class, with dignity, and a cheater comes along and steals the record and shoves it in his face. I
refuse to allow you or anybody else with that opinion to take away my childhood following baseball. I refuse. I fell in love with baseball during that time, and you can't take that away from me. You can't pretend that time didn't exist. Kerry Wood and Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa was another one who
hit a lot of home runs. Only player to ever hit 60 home runs in three different seasons.
Who juiced out of his mind, gets in front of Congress and goes, I can't speak English.
Yeah, the Congress was a disaster. Joke. We've talked about that. And
I don't think we've ever talked about it on the show. If we did, it was a long time ago. It was
early shows. I mean, all Mark McGwire had to do was go in and say, listen, you saw what I used. I didn't hide it. You saw it in my locker.
I used it for recovery. It's not
illegal at the time. I used it as recovery because that's what people don't think of with steroids. That's what they're really used for. They're used for recovering and for joints. And there's a lot of good sides to those in a doctor's office if they're not abused.
The androstenedione is like a creatine, which is used for recovery. When you're shooting...
It's a little bit more advanced.
When you're shooting up and you're juicing to the point where you become a monster and you increase your body size double, which Barry Bonds did.
The andro is a molecule that's part of the testosterone development. So basically, if you are injecting yourself with more testosterone, it's going to give more testosterone a chance to latch on and actually get into the muscles. So, I mean, you don't use that unless you're using it for something else, like injecting testosterone.
I will never give the cheater credit for any record he holds because he doesn't hold the records. The real records belong to the people who played the game right.
Right.
And just did it with national ability.
More than 50% of people were using steroids in that time. You can put an asterisk next to it. That's fine. And say it was from a different area. In the same way, you can put an asterisk next to Roger Maris's ball. Which, by the way, the Bob Frick was the name of the commissioner at the time?
Ford Frick.
Did that. There was an asterisk next to the Roger Maris single-season home run record because he did it in 162 games and not 154. So in that same stance, you could also say Maris's record doesn't count because he did it. It took him that many more games to do it.
That's a little, and believe me, I've used that argument many times. However, if baseball changes the length of the season, that means the players have that length of the season to get to a record. A season is a season, whether whoever changes it.
A season is a season, no matter how small. I read that somewhere.
Thank you. I mean, Babe Ruth hit 60.
I think it was Horton that taught that lesson.
Did he hear who? Anyways, Babe Ruth did it in 154 games because that was the length of the season. Roger Maris broke it on the 162nd game.
Sure. But it's the same thing. If you look at the NFL was 12 games, and then it was 14, and then 16, and now 17.
Correct.
You don't go back and talk about the fact that it was different lengths of games. I mean, you could. I mean, Jim Brown would still own every single record if we did that because he was playing 12 games in a season.
He was the only person I ever hear in the NFL talking about the records because he only played. I think it was even
12 games.
Was it 12?
12
I thought it was 9.
12.
He played 9 seasons, 12 games a season.
Yep.
And he would still hold the record. Nobody would be touching that record.
No, I mean, you could argue with the fact of O.J. Simpson had 2,000 rushing yards in 14 games. And then dude with the Rams with the big old glasses.
Eric
Dickerson ran for 2,000 yards in 16 games
Right.
and broke that record. He had 2 more games to break
That's a
O.J.
different-
Simpson's record.
That's a different thing.
I mean, but it's to the same point. If you're talking about records, you can look at them differently. That's fine, but it doesn't change the fact that that's an all-time record. Somebody
Right.
did that in professional baseball. Somebody hit 73 home runs.
Who is
professional baseball.
chemically enhanced
That's
and juiced
fine.
to the point where you've cheated the game out of its integrity.
That's fine.
I
You
will-
can take 85 to 2005 and say, hey, that was a different era of baseball. In the
That
same
is-
way with the dead ball era. You
Mhm.
still look at those the same way. There's
Sure.
still records. You still look
Because
at Ty
it's-
Cobb the same way.
game
It was
is-
a very different game at that time.
Ty Cobb, you can compare to.
You can't.
Yes, you can.
You can't.
As the size of a man having to hit a ball, you could compare Ty Cobb to Pete Rose.
Well, here's a question
Both
for you.
had to hit the ball.
Here's a question for you. Say Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and Mark McGwire were hitting the balls that they are using today. Barry Bonds would have hit 85 home runs.
No, it wouldn't.
If
If-
they were using the juiced up balls they're using in today's game,
If he was the same
Barry Bonds
size
would have hit 85 home runs.
with the
in the
juice,
same season that he hit 73, he would have hit 85 home runs.
I don't know that he would have, but he still wouldn't have mattered because he cheated the integrity of the game to get to
Sure.
those numbers, and I will not acknowledge him. He's a cheater. Besides being a,
You just don't like him as a
Massive.
person.
I don't, but I like him more than I like Ryan Braun. But that's another story. The all-time home run record, and please put in the comments whether you agree with what's his name over here, or if you agree with the right answer that the all-time home run record single season is 61,
Hey.
and the all-time home run record, the most venerated record in all of the sports, still belongs to Henry Aaron at 755.
We're going to continue, but before we do, listen to what's his name. And while you're making those comments below, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it, except when he's making pointless points that don't matter, like right now, because here's the reality of the situation. In the same sense of it was different game lengths, there's a different reason that they got those home runs, and you have to acknowledge the fact that those home runs exist. You are the same person that until recently, by the way, I have finally got him to start to admit that the dead ball era was a different version of baseball. We have it recorded on this show. I will go back and find it. Don't start with me.
The
You
same
admitted it.
Same basic game. However, it was harder to hit home runs during that era.
Correct.
But it wasn't harder to hit
Sure it was.
I do not agree
The
with you.
ball was heavier in the 9th inning than it was in the first inning. It was the same
Correct.
ball throughout the game.
It's a lot harder to get a base hit in the 9th inning than it was in the first inning because it was a softer ball. So Ty Cobb's record is a very direct comparison they can use against Pete Rose. Home
they
runs is a
can't.
different deal. He
They
still
can't
stole
because it was also
96
harder to
bases.
throw, which made pitching harder because it was a heavier ball, which means you couldn't move the ball as much.
You could
Even
use,
putting spit on the ball would have not allowed that heavier ball to spin.
They
Did
didn't
I
act-
catch your argument before you came out?
they-
Yes, I
they
did.
didn't actually put spin on the ball was what I was going to say. They used
They put everything they could find on the ball, and the
They
ball
used
got more
whatever.
ridiculous
they
as
put
time went on.
jalapeno in their nose.
Whatever it took.
You put snot
Yeah.
on the ball.
I don't got an arm like yours, kid. I got to put on it what I can find.
All right. That argument we've had since the beginning of this show.
And
The
I'm
point-
right.
The point is, Aaron Judge is having a year of years. He bet on himself. I love guys who do that. And he should be celebrated because he's going to be hitting 62. He's got 6 games left. He hit
7 games.
Okay, 7 games. I thought it was 6, but
3 more or 4 more on the road, 3 more at home.
okay. He hit his 61st. He actually beat Ruth's record.
He hit it 155. He was 1 game shy.
No. He hit 60 in
He
like
tied
one.
Roos'
He
record.
tied Ruth's record in
Had a
like
chance to beat Roos' record, but then
but
pressure clearly got to him.
he actually hit 60 before Ruth hit 60 is what my point is.
Should
And
probably just let you finish talking, is what you're telling me.
why start now?
That's fair.
However, pressure did get to him big time over the last several games.
You could tell.
You could. I
I
mean,
mean, 62 will not be as hard to hit as 61 was. Breaking the record, I do not believe, is more pressure than tying that record
I
was.
could see him going on a tear and hitting 4 more before the end of the year.
He could. I could see him hitting 65. He's got 7 games to do it.
Sure.
I mean, the 7-game drought was his second longest drought of the season. I mean, if you're saying that, he definitely is going to hit at least one more, probably a couple more, because the pressure's gone. Now it doesn't matter anymore.
I think he's playing Baltimore. I think he's going to relax, and he's playing the Rangers. My prediction, 4 more before the end of the year. What a year we've seen in baseball. Albert Pujols gets to 700.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge is getting 60, at least 62.
He got to 61. That's all we can say for now.
Can you imagine the contract he's going to sign at the end of this year?
It's going to be a big one.
It will be a big one.
It's going to be a big old contract. I mean, that dude could hit home runs forever.
Well, he's your MVP. I love Ohtani, but Aaron Judge is your MVP.
Officially, now Aaron Judge is the MVP.
Yes.
You don't give it to anybody else.
Do you think the Yankees sign him, or are they going to let him get away?
It depends.
On?
If they want to see their stadium burnt to the ground by their fans.
I think Judge is your next Yankee for life. He'll become the captain.
He has to be. I mean, you kept Derek Jeter longer than you should have.
You kept Derek Jeter at shortstop when you shouldn't have had him at shortstop.
Right. Like, that's what the Yankees do. But then again, that was George Steinbrenner. So,
well, no, it's his kid. I don't think he
now it's his kid. I'm saying George, though, had Jeter on the team all that time. He didn't give up people like that. Steinbrenner, or the new regime may be a little bit different, but you have to sign Aaron Judge now to a long-term deal, and the Yankees have to sign him to a long-term deal. It would hurt me to see Aaron Judge play for another team.
I don't want to see him in another uniform. I want to see 99 retired and out in Monuments.
Which would, by far, and it's not just because it's 99, it would be by far the highest number to ever be retired in baseball.
Highest number you could ever retire in baseball.
But I'm just saying, by I think the highest number to ever be retired is 60.
Might be 72. Could have been Carlton Fisk, who wore 72 in Chicago, but I don't know if the White Sox retired his number.
They did.
Okay.
72.
So there's your highest number. And why did he wear 72?
Because he could.
Because he wore 27 in Boston.
Okay.
He just flipped it around. I don't know why he didn't wear 27 in Chicago, but
this is scary.
What?
Apparently, this is how I get on wormholes, by the way. I look up something and then I see a different article. Apparently, a Google AI has passed the Turing test.
What?
Yeah, you know what the Turing test is, right?
No idea.
Do you know who Alan Turing is?
No.
He's the creator of the modern computer. Really, you're a World War II buff and don't know who Alan Turing is? Alan Turing is the reason the Allies won the war.
He made the giant...
He made the code breaker,
Okay.
which became the modern computer that we know today, which, rumor has it, Apple has their logo, because Turing ended up killing himself by eating a poisonous apple. He got arrested for being gay in Britain.
That
if you
can
can
happen
believe
back
that.
then. Yeah, the man who broke Enigma.
Right. Yeah, was arrested for
Different times.
taking a male lover and ended up killing himself by poisoning himself by eating a poisonous apple. And so it's all but been proven not to be true, but I like conspiracies better. And so they say the apple symbol has a bite out of it in honor of Alan Turing. But the Turing test basically is something Alan Turing obviously came up with, which says that it tests, does artificial intelligence, can a computer think like a human? Do they have the capacity? And it's not just does it know things, it's does it understand emotion? Does it understand
It becomes
really everything a human can?
It's got to become Data from Star Trek.
Correct. Exactly. But more even understanding like emotion and things of that nature, more than maybe even Data does. I don't know why I know that. Anyways.
A machine cannot. No.
Well, apparently it can, because apparently Google has an AI that has all but passed the Turing test.
No.
Which is terrifying.
It is. That means the end of the planet is.
I've seen this thing interviewed.
How can don't refer to it as an animate object?
I said I've seen this thing.
I know, but you've said interviewed followed by that. It's like
it was interviewed.
He's sitting there with his pipe as a machine. I see a robot sitting there.
First off,
Danger, Will.
It's got
Will
a lady
Robinson.
voice. And you
Danger,
cannot
Will
call
Robertson.
a robot a he or a she.
No, it's an it. I get that. But just the fact that you refer to it as talking to it.
That you want to go down a wormhole, folks? Look up the Google AI
Now I'm
because
thinking of-
they 100% talk to it.
Now I'm thinking of Scotty talking into his microphone, going computer, as he's trying to give the
Yeah. So this thing
formula
passed
for
the Turing
invisible
test, which I
or
didn't realize.
invisible aluminum to the guy. Anyways,
But yeah, it passed the Turing test.
which is what?
Well, it proved it thinks like a human. It is basically human. The computer has become it has the brain of a human being where it understands emotions and concepts and doesn't just spit out information like all other computers do. My biggest fear is that I don't care. Like a robot can think however it wants, but it better be attached to a plug where I can unplug the damn thing. My biggest fear is that they're going to create, and they will, by the way, create, because science has not become we can, but should we, but instead has become we can, so let's do it.
That computer is going to go to court to make sure that it can never be unplugged.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I mean, if you have a robot that's self-sustainable, we've seen all the movies that show us why that's a bad idea.
It's always a bad ending. Yes.
It's like when they were trying to recreate the Big Bang. Why?
Why?
The Big Bang, you're telling everybody, created the universe.
You're essentially creating a black hole. That's the
So
other-
why would we want to create a universe? Because essentially what it would encapsulate our own universe and kill us all.
That's like the place in Switzerland, I think, where they built this superconductor and they're going to smash atoms to try to create a black hole.
That's what I was just talking about.
Is that the same
Creating
thing?
the Big Bang. Yeah, you're taking matter and dark matter and boom.
It's not a good idea.
No, it's a really bad idea. The Super Collider, I believe it's called.
I thought it was just a black hole. I didn't know it was to create the Big Bang.
Maybe they've changed it. I know Hawking's original idea, because that's Hawking's thing. It was his original idea to recreate the Big Bang. But then again, it makes more sense with the black hole because that was Hawking's big thing. He decided wormholes existed, and then later wrote that they don't exist. I don't know. I don't get
The
the
single most brilliant man to ever be on
Him
the
and
planet.
Einstein. Yeah, you want to talk about a special person? I mean, that's a person that truly was special. And the fact that he lived as long as he did, we are very lucky as human beings to have that mind that really was crippled to live as long as he did.
I feel bad for him with the condition he was in. I respect and admire him for how he never let it stop him. And
You know, he had a chance to. He could have changed that voice at any time.
Yeah.
Do you know why he kept the voice that he
To-
had?
to screw with Sheldon,
No. What a dumb show.
I love that show.
Of course you love that show. No. It was because he said, that is my voice now. It's no different than anybody else who has their own voice. That's my voice signature. That's how people know me.
Very
So
true.
that's my voice now.
Well,
And it makes sense. Yeah, that's
that's how Sheldon knew who he was.
so everybody knows who he was.
He found a boo-boo in Sheldon's mouth.
I don't even know what you're talking about, honestly. I've watched
There's an
the
episode
first few seasons of the show and then was like, this is getting really repetitive. I get the concept. I'm out.
I still will watch bits and pieces of it because it was a funny show.
That's fair. That's fair. I do want to talk about one thing when it comes to golf. Can you say regretting a decision?
Must be talking about Phil.
Phil Mickelson pulls out of the lawsuit with Liv versus PGA for monopoly-related reasons in the United States. Phil will no longer be a part of the suit. His response being, the only reason I stay in this suit is for money and damages, and I don't need any of that. Well, of course you don't, because they just paid you a lot of money to go to Liv, number one. And number two, I think someone is not happy with the decision that they made.
I think Legacy is talking to him, and I don't think he's a happy man.
I don't either.
I think he misses things like the President's Cup, Ryder's Cup, teeing off at the Masters, all the things that he earned. He just flushed them all.
I think he misses being the person that people cheered for. Because here's the thing, is he started his career really as people not liking him that much. And then all of a sudden he started winning and people were cheering for him to win.
He was the underdog. Actually, they started cheering for him because I think he won a tournament as an amateur, the Phoenix Open.
Is that what it was?
And people loved him. People didn't like him, whether he's arrogant or not. I've never met Phil, so I don't know. But
he was a famous kid. I mean, it
yeah,
happens.
He was always trying to catch Tiger. Tiger beat him badly most of the time until he learned to get over the hump, and he beat Tiger.
At the end of Tiger's career.
Absolutely. Well, Tiger still won the U.S. Open after that. He beat him at the Masters legitimately.
He won the U.S. Open on a broken in half leg.
Yes. And Tiger told Liv to go and flush it, essentially.
Correct. So did Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicklaus. Sorry.
Thank you.
A lot of people did. And I think that Phil is now missing being on that side and saying, hey, the Live Tour is wrong. The PGA has done so much for us. I think he does want to come out and say that now, but he can't.
Not now, because he's come out. Look, he knew there were problems in the PGA Tour. I don't think anybody is denying that. Tiger and Rory have went and just addressed some of that from the inside.
Which Phil had the power to do.
Phil would have been right there with them, by the way. But they waved many, many millions of dollars in front of him.
Well, I think the changes that were made in the PGA were made in response to so many people leaving. The question is if Phil doesn't leave, does everybody else leave? Which I still think they might. But Phil took the brunt of it. And listen, you gotta revel in being who you are. You made this choice already. You can't go back.
Oh, I think if he could, and if he can find a way, he will give them back their money.
I didn't think he believed it would become what it is. I think he believed it would have become like, you hear stories. I heard a story once of the what's his name? Ninja, who's a gamer. I don't know a lot about it. I just know that guy. But he was basically paid by a platform. I'm making up money, so don't quote me on this, but it was a lot of money. It was something like $300 million. He was basically paid because Twitch is the big streaming thing.
Yeah.
And he was paid by this other streaming company to exclusively do things there. And it went belly up. And so he got to go back to Twitch and got to keep the money. And I think that's kind of what Phil was hoping was going to happen. Like, you're going to pay me. This is going to fold in a year. And then I'm going to go back to the PGA and everything will be great. We'll laugh about it. But the reality is Liv isn't going anywhere anytime
Not with
soon.
the back in it, Scott. Although I know Norman had to go in front of Congress and explain the Saudi connection.
Correct.
The problem with Liv, is just the format. It's a shotgun start, like every scramble at a charity event in this country is. It's all a team thing.
Right.
And it's only 54 holes. It's like a senior. They took the worst elements of every kind of golf and put it in and said, hey, we're professional golf.
Well, they were so convinced on doing something different. And nobody learns from the USFL back in the day, not the new formation, but the old one, where it's like, listen, this is the same football.
Right.
It's no different. It's still football. We've changed some things, or the ABA back in the day. Like they added a three-pointer, but
the NBA is now the ABA.
Right. But it was still basketball, and
right.
Nothing changed. The time was still the same. Everything was the same. Where they're so invested, and I think that's where the XFL struggles. I think that's where the USFL new invention struggled, is that they're so, like, we have to do something different that's going to get people to watch. We have to do something different. And you don't. Like, just go play golf, go play football. And if the talent's there and it's fun to watch, people will watch it. If you're not going to put talent on the field and the other talents in the other place is more fun to watch, then
well, and that's the problem with the
whatever.
That's the problem with the new version of the USFL. It's not as good a quality.
Well, it's gone.
I know it's gone.
But the XFL is coming back with The Rock.
And it will last about the same amount of time. And by the way, I apologize for my voice. I can feel it going again, but we'll get through the show.
And the reason we had to wait to make this show was because you couldn't talk for the last 5 days.
No, it was actually today. It's 8, and I'm still there.
Had a procedure done. I'll save your voice. I got it. He likes to tell this story like it's not as serious as it was. He had a procedure done on his back where he had to get put under for it, and he stopped breathing. So they had to put some stuff in his mouth and down his throat to make sure he was still breathing. And when I heard about this, it's not a big deal. It's really not. They got me breathing again. Everything's fine.
Other than I can't swallow. And
Which is how I found out this happened.
yeah, as I take a drink of soda, go outside and realize I can't breathe. I'm nowhere near anybody.
Yeah, your throat
It
swelled
was
up
it was bad.
pretty bad. We were checking on you pretty often
it's
to
getting
make sure you didn't die.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Take a bite.
The
Take a
same
gallon
man,
of
by the
water.
way, when I was a kid who was deathly allergic to bees and got stung in the mouth of all places by a bee and refused to go to the hospital. So
No,
you see what I
went. I
deal
just
with
drove
on a regular
myself.
basis.
Look,
Such a dummy.
I'm like every other dad. If you would get stung or have something fall on you and break your arm, or jump off a trampoline and break a foot,
I went to the doctor.
I'm fine, but not until you were done playing with the kids.
Listen,
So don't talk to me.
there's
You're
a
the
big
same-
difference. No.
There's not
No,
any difference.
Because there's a big difference.
None.
One, I wasn't suffocating,
I wasn't either.
and I didn't need immediate medical attention in order to survive.
So our football
Unlike you. Number two, I'm not done. Not done with him. Number two, the reason we went to the trampoline park, and you guys let me know, as a dad, or as an uncle, or has anybody younger that they help take care of, help raise, get to enjoy time with, is fortunate enough to have amazing kids like I do, where you love spending time with them. We give tickets to the kids. And when they do something good, so they get 3 tickets a day just for doing normal things like chores and schoolwork and stuff like that, and they get taken away if they, throw a fit for no
Beat up
reason
their
or whatever,
brother.
beat up their brother. That's the
Yeah.
big reason they lose them. Or they get extra tickets for going above and beyond. Like the other day, my oldest Grayson helped me move yard work from the back to the front to put it out, and I just asked him to do it, didn't complain. He gets an extra ticket for that. But we have prizes for them saving up, and one was like 500 tickets. And you get to go to a trampoline park, right? So he saved and did extra work to get extra tickets for like 8 months to get to that mark. It could have been 500 tickets. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he saved for 8 months these tickets. In the first 15 minutes, I have an accident and completely break my foot in half. Like the bone snapped in half. Like I straight up broke it in a lot of pain. We had been there for 15 minutes when we were planning to be there for an hour and a half.
There is no difference between what you did
There's
and
not,
what I
because
did.
I'm not leaving something that my son worked so hard to
No,
earn.
I don't blame you. And I was not going to leave the thing we were doing as a
However,
family.
if I couldn't breathe,
you would have stuck it out for the kids. You said, I'm
would
fine,
have been
I'm fine,
different.
I'm fine. Same thing.
Not the
Anyways,
same thing.
Let's talk football.
Very, very,
This is a
very
sport,
different. First
this is
thing,
sports talk with Dad. So let's talk
football's the
sports.
last thing. I want to talk to you about one more thing before we get into
Okay.
football, because it is interesting what's going to happen. So the World Cup,
Is in Qatar.
a different kind of football.
Yep.
European football.
F-U-
Football.
F-U-T, Ubi thingy, B-O-L, I
In
think.
Spanish, it's F-O-O-T in England and other English-speaking countries.
I like the funky spelling.
I do too. I think it makes it look cooler. But anyways, European soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. We call it soccer in the U.S. So soccer, World Cup is going to be in Qatar,
Qatar.
which is a Middle Eastern country.
Very hot.
Now, people around the world, especially westernized countries, go to sporting events, and the adults, especially the adult males, you got it, do what?
Drink beer.
What's illegal
Any kind of
Qatar?
alcohol.
in
Oh.
public settings?
Any kind of alcohol.
In public settings.
Yes.
They have it for religious purposes. I believe you can have drinks in your own home. But being drunk, especially in public, is not like getting a ticket here in the United States. It is you go to jail.
Yes.
They are very strict about that, as are many other Middle Eastern Muslim countries. It's a part of their culture. It's a part of their religion. I get it. No issues with it at all. The question always was, how are you going to handle that? Because you're going to have a lot of westernized countries and a lot of westernized fans from those countries that are going to be in your city that are very used to watching a soccer game and then stumbling back to a hotel.
I'm drinking soda or water. I am not. And plus the fact Qatar is an incredible, they were worried because it is so incredibly hot there.
Right.
They're going to be playing outside, but
Right.
this is,
It's going to get interesting.
They
Now
need to
they've
drink water.
allowed alcohol in designated areas in the stadium, and they're telling people just drink in designated areas because God forbid they catch you with alcohol outside of those designated areas, which by the way,
it's
they will
going
catch
to
people.
happen.
They will catch people. Now, I've never been a big fan of drinking a lot at sporting events. It's never been my thing. I've never understood it. Like, why do you want to get drunk at something to the point you don't remember what you just paid tickets for?
Right.
Like, I going to Packer games, going to Rays games, Brewers games, Cubs games, whatever other stadium I've been to. You have people stumbling out. I'm like, why'd you pay for the tickets? Like, you could have just gotten drunk in a bar at home.
Right.
And not paid to be here. Like, why are you trying not to remember this moment that you just paid big money for? It makes no sense to me, but I know a lot of people enjoy that.
The people that I don't understand who are like that with their kids there.
Yeah.
Never understood that.
I don't get it either.
Not cool.
And being in Wisconsin, you see it. It happens, but like, you got to drive home and you got
Correct.
kids.
And
why aren't you enjoying this moment with your kids? I know it sounds like I'm judging because I am. But I don't understand it. It's never been a concept I've understood. But whatever. Whatever floats your boat. Getting back to Qatar, it will be extremely interesting to see what happens because there are going to be people that sneak in alcohol into the country. They said there won't be able to. They will. There are going to be people drinking in the streets that haven't been paying attention. There are going to be very, very drunk people there that are going to start fights. Because that's what soccer fans do.
Then they're going to pay the price. It's not going to be pretty. They will disappear. I do not want to go to jail in another country.
No.
Ask Brittany Griner.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean,
especially not in the Middle East. That doesn't sound like a good time. I'm sure it's a beautiful country. I'm sure the people there are nice. But those are laws I'm not used to.
No, you're not. But I give Qatar credit. They have announced well in advance. They've made no bones about it.
They have.
Anybody who doesn't listen to them is like ignorance of a law is not an excuse.
Right. I can only speak for American laws, and I'm sure anybody watching this show is understanding that as well. But in America, Americans like to push the limits on laws, especially when it comes to alcohol and other substances. American people like to see how far they can go.
I don't think,
and our legal system kind of allows people to see how far they can go,
especially
and kind
lately.
of turn the other way.
Especially lately.
But even when I was growing up, like, you'd get drunk and, the police officer just tell you to go home. Like, it wasn't really a thing.
You and I grew up in Wisconsin where...
drinking's part of the culture.
Yeah, and, when I was a kid and I had a couple, dozen, no, I'd been drinking. Cop, and in a small town you and I both grew up in, cop pulled me over. Cop puts flashlight in the car, shook his head, said, "Follow me home."
Yeah.
And that was it. That was it. So it's a different culture that Wisconsin has, which has changed a lot right now. I don't think that would happen now. But
even when I was a kid, like, I'd be a designated driver, so I was driving. I've never done the drinking and driving thing. I promised that as a kid, and I've stuck to it.
You did.
But, you'd have people... I got pulled over once when I had drunk people in the car behind me who, let's be honest, probably weren't old enough to be drinking. And I just got a follow me home thing. It was the same thing. Like, you're sober, right? And I said, "Yes, officer. I have had nothing to drink because I knew I was driving tonight." He's like, "All right, get these kids home safe." And that was the end of it. Again, probably doesn't happen today.
I won't tell you about my worst night when I was 17.
Save it. Because we have more shows where we can tell stories.
Yeah, we'll tell stories.
But again, that's what we're used to here in the U.S. Now, the United States doesn't have to matter because our male soccer team's terrible and nobody's going to be there for the United States anyways.
But if you're from Brazil, if you're from Spain, if you're from Europe,
England,
wherever,
Ireland,
all the good teams.
Iceland.
I consider England and Ireland part of Europe, but if you don't, that's fine.
Well, you went from naming specific countries
Yeah,
to naming a continent.
I understand that.
You said Spain, and then you said Europe.
And I think
One's a continent, one's
Spain
a
is
country.
part of Europe, actually.
Right. So I had to make
okay,
sure you
fine.
were within the same range.
Oh my God. You know, they knew what I was talking about. You don't have to jump and pounce on me like you're waiting. Anyways, I think most westernized cultures drinking and going to soccer games
It's not a thing.
with soccer hooligans
Ugh.
is a thing. If you're going to Qatar, leave your hooligan stuff back in your home country.
Especially I've heard stories of Argentinian soccer games where there's people sitting on that side, people sitting on this side, and then there's gaps in between because you don't want to be close enough for them to throw a bottle at you. Like that's soccer in other countries, and you're bringing that to a Middle Eastern country that has made it very clear we're not changing our laws just because the World Cup is going to be here. We're bending,
but we're not
going to break.
Right?
Like we're not going to deal with stupidity, and you're gonna. I mean, we think we have a jail problem in the U.S.
Oh,
What's going to happen in Qatar, a country of 3 million people, when all of a sudden more people than their entire country has living in it right now show up for a soccer event?
I'm just hoping it goes off without a hitch. I'm hoping nobody is stupid. Somebody will be, but I hope. I just hope everybody gets home to their families. I mean, I had a friend named Scotty who drank too much and ended up on a bus with soccer hooligans. And
yeah, Scotty doesn't know how he got there, though.
No, he doesn't.
No,
if you've never watched the movie Euro Trip, watch it. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever watched.
It's always weird when you have a movie when you're a kid and you watch it and you laugh about it and talk about it, and then your dad thinks it's funny too. It's always a weird moment as a teenager. But on from European football to American football, we do have picks to make here.
Yes.
And they have made changes to the Pro Bowl.
They needed to.
The Pro Bowl no longer is going to have a game.
It's because the games are always so bad.
The games are always pretty bad.
Nobody wants to get hurt, so there's not a lot of hitting.
No.
It's less defense than you see in the NBA All-Star games. So try something else. See what happens.
I agree. It's more of a skills competition, which is always what I enjoyed growing up, was watching the skills competition.
Sure.
Same with the NBA. I think more people watch the skills competition than they do with the actual game itself.
When you think of the greatest moments in NBA All-Star history,
contest.
It's the dunk contest, or it's when Larry Bird won the three-point contest.
Right.
You know, those were fantastic finishes, and they're great moments. The games themselves are almost unwatchable.
Yeah, Manning's production is going to be a big part of it, which I think is going to make it more interesting. But, I mean, I've always said from the beginning, just give these people a vacation. Like, send it back to Hawaii.
Yes.
They've earned it. Give them a vacation because that's what they're there for. But going forward in time to this week, we have our games to pick. And let me tell you,
we are awful.
It's been pretty bad, but we do have some things. Well, we don't have things to brag about. I have things to brag about, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars are everything I thought they were going to be.
Okay, I had some good picks last week too.
Well, let's talk Jacksonville. Jacksonville played great last week. They have Philadelphia coming up this week. I'm taking Jacksonville in this one. Jacksonville, they're finally using Trevor Lawrence's athleticism to their advantage, which is awesome. I think they're going to continue to get ETN more involved, which they need to. But Trevor Lawrence has looked every bit as advertised this year.
You know who looked even better? Hurts.
Jalen Hurts looked great. And the Eagles have a lot more weapons on the offensive side of the ball. But this is can you imagine having this conversation about Jacksonville and Philadelphia last year?
No.
I mean, what a difference a year makes.
Jacksonville getting a real NFL coach. We knew it would be better with Doug Peterson, and it's proved out to be right.
How bad does this make Urban Meyer look?
He couldn't look any worse. I mean, it's just, he was not there. He was not mentally, he was not engaged with that team.
No.
I think this is going to be a good chance, and it's going to be a great game, but I'm taking Philadelphia all day long.
I'm on the Jacksonville train on this one. I don't see I don't see how Jacksonville can lose this one. I just
It's
don't.
in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's on a roll.
They are. But Philadelphia still has chinks in their armor, and we just haven't seen them yet. And I think this is the time where we're going to see those chinks in those armors. And I think that chink in that armor, I should say. But I think we're going to see it. I think Jacksonville's going to bring it out at them. Doug Peterson's proving once again how great of a coach he actually is.
We'll find out and we'll have the discussion, but it's going to be a great game. It's probably the premier game of the week.
I agree. Another big game, and it's interesting because this game should be a premier game in the week, but it is two teams that have not lived up to the expectation, and that is Denver at Las Vegas. What a disappointing start for both teams.
Look, Las Vegas head coach got called into the owner's box.
McDaniels.
Thank you. McDaniels has never done well as a head coach.
People forget he started 6-0 in Denver when Tim Tebow was on that team.
He took a flyer on Tebow, but then it went downhill fast.
It
He was never liked by ownership. And then all of a sudden he was off to be Belichick's offensive coordinator.
Again.
I don't think they win. I think Denver got over the hump. I think at the end of the game, Russell Wilson took the team under his control and said, look, we're going to do this my way. And they won.
I mean, my question is with the Raiders here is who is at fault for it? Is it the coach who, with Tom Brady, won several Super Bowls with less receivers than he has right now, less tight ends than he has right now? Or is this the quarterback's fault? Is this officially David Carr showing that Derek Carr, I'm sorry, I keep saying David, that we officially have overrated him. He shouldn't be a starter in this league, and the Raiders need to look at moving on.
I think it's a lot of that. Derek Carr was always an okay NFL quarterback. He was middle of the road. He was certainly not one of the upper echelon. He's got the top receiver in all of football, and he's not getting him the ball.
Do you think before the trade deadline, Adams goes back to Green Bay?
Oh, God, no. I'd love it. Make it happen. Make it so, number one. But no, I do not see that happening. I think at this point, would Adams like to be back in Green Bay? Even if it is for a year? Maybe.
I mean, it's a must-win for both teams.
Arizona's, I think.
Arizona.
I was looking at the game before it. Sorry. I think Denver's going to come out, and I think Denver goes into Vegas and wins handily.
You've watched Denver play, right?
I watched the end of the game, and it was the first time I saw Denver kind of putting things together offensively. I think they go in and they're
against a really bad team. I saw a bad team.
They're playing Vegas right now. Vegas is a bad team.
I've lost all faith in Denver. I really have, because what you're seeing right now for sure is that Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson are not on the same page.
I think Nathaniel Hackett is a very young coach. They're trying, and Russell Wilson, I heard somebody say it, was trying to be the nice guy and be a team player. At the end of the game, Russell Wilson took that team by the throat and said, "This is mine. We're going to do it this way."
He needs to. He can't be the person he was in Seattle, where he just says it behind closed doors. He has to be that person out in the front of the line.
And I think he's got that ability. I think he will. Denver's still got a good defense.
They have a great team.
And I think Denver will put it together and win in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I also take Vegas in that situation. Another game here.
Okay, we're on the opposite sides of both of these games. Because I took Denver.
Yeah, I took Vegas. Another game where last year we would have said, really? And even this year, I think a lot of people are still saying, really? Because we have a 2-1 team versus a 2-1 team where everybody thinks that they'll still end up with a top 10 draft pick. And that is, of course, the Bears at the New York Giants.
This is one of those games. Neither team should be 2-1, but it's early. They're NFL teams, so they've got talent. I think the Giants win the game.
Well, listen, here's what the Bears are doing that I really, really like. I've said for a long time, I think, why am I blanking on quarterback's name of the Bears? Justin Fields. Thank you. Justin Fields is a legit quarterback and a legit NFL quarterback, but they don't have an offensive line to protect him.
No.
So to make sure they're protecting him, they really rely heavily on the run game. They've been rolling him out. They've been doing a lot more options because they're not going to sit there and allow him to just get destroyed, dropping back 50 times when that offensive line isn't ready to protect him. And that's brilliant of the Bears to do. Their run versus pass plays right now, a 2-1 team hasn't had that much of a run-heavy offense since the 1970s. I mean, this is unheard of to be successful following this. I think it's been a brilliant move. I think it does follow into Fields' strengths, but you do need to start dropping him back to be more of a passer if you want.
He doesn't have any better wide receivers than Green Bay does.
No, it's probably the only team that has a worse wide receiver crew.
Yeah, so I don't see the Giants just seems to be a little bit more well-rounded team. I don't think either one are going to be good in the long run.
I've said before, I think the Giants are going to win the division this year. They look great. Saquon's back. Jones is taking the next step. Jones looked like an NFL quarterback last week. He looked awesome.
I don't think in the long term the Giants, and I could be wrong, maybe they have turned the corner, but I want to see it throughout the season before I'm going to start buying in. But in this game where somebody's got to win, I'm going to take the Giants.
I'm going to take the Giants too, specifically because Montgomery's doesn't look like he's going to play, and if he does, he's going to be hurt while he's playing. And I think that's going to take a lot from him. I'm going to take the home team with the Giants as well. Last game I wanted to talk about here was a game where this was my Super Bowl pick to start the season.
Which was a silly pick.
Both teams are starting to show me I may have been a little wrong. And that's, of course, the Patriots at the Green Bay Packers.
Well, New England starting quarterback's not going to be there.
He is not. He got
rocked. Green Bay, of course, has the Zen Master who sees things on Jumbotrons.
He never saw anything on the Jumbotron.
But
I 100% believe that he is playing mind games.
Jedi
mind tricks. That sly son of a bitch.
I tell you what.
I love it.
They have been spending their week studying Jumbotron footage.
Yeah, what did he see? Nothing at all.
Well,
if anything, he saw the delay of game, but everybody saw that.
Yeah, everybody saw the delay of game. And the first, Brady went down to the last second, the play before, and I think he was actually over, but they let him get away with it because they let Rodgers get away with it the whole game too.
Rodgers never snaps that far behind. There's always been he is, but it's the time it takes you to look from the play clock back to the ball,
which is what they're supposed to get.
And when it comes to the last two plays in the Packer-Buccaneers game, it was look again just to make sure. Okay, they snapped the ball.
Here's my question with Green Bay, and I've seen this for 2 years now. I don't trust Matt LaFleur anymore to call plays because they were dominant the first quarter and a half.
They come out scripted very well, but then when it comes to needing to make adjustments, that's when the Packers start to fail. The big thing with the Packers is anytime we make a mistake, like fumbling at the 2-yard line,
they turtle.
All of a sudden, we don't put up any more points.
They went the last 8 drives, 7 were 3-and-outs.
Yeah, that's the bad part. And off of turnovers, too.
Correct. Green Bay it happened in the playoff game. 3 turnovers in the second half against Tampa Bay, and they lost that game. They had no offense against San Francisco and lost that game. LaFleur has got to find a way to keep that team rolling the way it does when it comes out. And if he can't do it, LaFleur may be a short timer. As good as he's been.
He's not going to be a short timer, number one. He just got a big old extension.
He's in Green Bay, I know. But I have been very uninspired by his play calling. And I'm not putting it on Rodgers, but Rodgers also has been turtling. When something goes wrong, they go away from what worked in the first few plays, like the little pass to the tight end or whatever they were doing. It's been awful. And now they're playing New England. I think Green Bay wins this game because New England just doesn't have their weapons.
Well, and Mac Jones is going to be there.
Right. So just for the sake of Green Bay's got their starting quarterback. New England doesn't. I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers as well. It's a home team game, so we're going to split on two, be the same on
As
two
opposed
here.
to a away team home game?
Huh?
A home team game? Yes, it's a home game for Green Bay.
So I'm going to take the home team again. Just took the home team in the last game.
Not what you said.
That is what I said. Rewind the tapes. You'll see. Anyways, but I'm going to take the Packers in this one. Number one, because I always take the Packers. Number two, because Mac Jones isn't going to be there. I think Mac Jones, this will be good for him in the end. Get some time away. There's a lot of high expectations, which he can obviously handle being the starting quarterback on a national championship Alabama team. It'll just be interesting. They got to get him some more weapons. You gotta put somebody in there that's going to actually be able to get open for him. And the same thing with Green Bay. They need to make a trade for a wide receiver or sign somebody.
Well,
my question is, why hasn't Green Bay picked up OBJ already?
Because he's not ready to play yet?
Who cares? Somebody's going to pick him up when he is ready to play. You might as well have him in your facility helping him rehab to get him on the field as soon as you can.
I'd love to see it. I mean, Dobbs right now is your number one receiver.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, Dobbs great. He's looked good. But that's not who you want to be your number one receiver.
No, and Rodgers is not pleased with the young receivers making mistakes, but that's what young receivers do.
Yeah, I don't know what the mindset was coming into this season with this wide receiver crew. It's a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers to perform, which, hey, you got a $50 million contract. You should have that kind of pressure on you. But at the same time, if we're in win-now mode,
which we are, which Green Bay is, they've got the team to do it,
right?
Minus the wide receivers.
I think Dobbs is going to turn into a star in the long run. I really do. I think it'll be great to have Bakhtiari back now that he's back in the fold.
I do think the right tackle they need to.
Jenkins?
Not Jenkins. The right guard, I meant, was getting burned badly against Tampa. I think they need to make some adjustments there.
Well, they will now that you have your left tackle back. Don't forget, they're just moving people around.
Oh, I know.
It makes me miss Billy Turner, though.
Yes, very much. They should have kept him.
But I'm going to take the Packers in that one. Any other games look really interesting out there?
This is not a great week for games. There's not a lot that's really intriguing me. Washington's going. It's the old rivalry, Washington at Dallas. I think Dallas, Cooper Rush is doing a great job right now.
He's doing fine.
He'll win.
Did you hear what Jerry Jones said?
No.
He gave him the most backhanded compliment in the world. I think our talent around us is a lot of reason for the Cooper Rush success and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was like, get Dak back.
Yeah, as quickly as possible. Chargers are going to Houston. That should be a walk for the Chargers.
Houston's been staying in games.
Arizona and Carolina, a battle of who cares, but I think
battle of two teams that were supposed to be good.
I think Carolina will come out and win that. Kyler Murray is not impressed.
I said from the word go, Arizona is going to be a top 10 draft pick this year.
Jets go to Pittsburgh.
Jets.
How long before Kenny Pickett?
If they lose to the Jets,
yeah,
it'll be the next week.
I think so too.
The problem is you've had him inactive. So it's not like you can just throw him in there because he's been the backup. You've had him inactive. And I said from the word go, if that's your decision, you ride with that decision, no matter how much pressure there is to put him in the game.
He will be in the game before the year's out. We need to do the football comparison again before that happens, or the week it happens.
We do, with Whopper Junior hands.
The only other game that looks very interesting to me is the Monday night game, the Rams versus San Francisco.
It should be good. This is where Jimmy Garoppolo really needs to make a statement that he's back. It's also where Matt Stafford needs to show that he's not as hurt as I think he is. And I think that's the issue. I think Matt Stafford's career is coming to an end with his elbow injury.
And Jimmy G, I'm going to give him some time. He had no off season. He's being thrown in. He's just starting to work with the number one unit. He didn't take any snaps with the number one unit for months.
No, but he knows the offense and has taken snaps with this offense in the past. He knows this offense. I get it was a long layoff. He looked fine last week. He's going to make those big mistakes. I think he's going to have a breakout week this week, and I think San Francisco walks away with that one.
I could see it happening.
A lot of differences in football that are going on. You guys let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
Would you stop doing Roger Radio?
Why, it's more fun this way. And don't forget as well, good sir, that Jolly O London is hosting a game this week. So be sure to wake up at 8 in the morning to watch the game.
No. Who's playing?
2 teams.
Thank you.
That's what I'm here for. The big thing I was here for today was the Ohio State banner. I wanted to rub that one in. Oh, look who's back.
still love him.
Look who's
I
back.
still love him. I had to give him a little, hold him down.
You were
and
punishing
punish
him?
I was punishing him, but
Look
Bucky will
who's
come back.
back.
I still love Bucky. But boy, did they look bad last week.
Well, my boys look good, which is awesome. But hey, I know we had last show some interesting last words, but again, out of sake of tradition,
My
any
only,
last words?
my only last words are a lot of thoughts and prayers for our friends and all the folks in Florida. I hope they recover quickly, but this is going to take a while. So
I agree.
watch us and enjoy the show just as a little break from what you're going through.
Especially with Brian down there, buddy. Take it easy. We will see you next week once the power is back on in your home with all your hurricane stories. Mikula Matata will be back, so have no worries. I think we've had a great show. You ready to call it a day?
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
Bye, everybody.